Did you know that the ancient Romans had superstitions that might seem bizarre to us today? You'll discover how these beliefs shaped their everyday lives and influenced their culture in surprising ways. What if a simple bird could decide the fate of an entire army? In ancient Rome, this was no mere speculation but a deeply held belief. Romans observed the behaviors of birds closely, interpreting their movements as omens that could foretell the future. Imagine a general standing at the edge of a battlefield, his heart racing while he gazes into the sky. If a bird flies left, it spells doom for his troops. If it soars right, victory is assured. This practice of reading omens was rooted in their culture, and for good reason. Romans didn't just watch birds for entertainment. They employed a group of specially trained priests known as augurs to interpret these signs. The augurs would look at the flight patterns and sounds of birds, a practice steeped in ritual and precision. These men held immense power, as their interpretations could sway political decisions and military strategies. Imagine the tension on the battlefield when a general's fate hung on whether a raven chose to perch on a tree or fly away. Such decisions could literally change the course of history. Now, you might think that omens from birds were merely the quirks of an unscientific society, but the reality is far more complex. Omens believed that nature communicated with them, and to ignore these signs was to court disaster. The fear of missing a critical omen led to an obsession with these interpretations, influencing everything from military campaigns to personal choices. Can you picture a Roman citizen hesitating to start a journey or a business venture, all because the birds were not singing in the right key? But why focus so heavily on birds? What about other signs? The truth is, the Romans had a vast array of omens at their disposal. From the behavior of livestock to unusual weather patterns, anything could be construed as a sign from the gods. This belief system created a society that was perpetually on edge, waiting for nature to reveal its secrets. A storm could mean divine displeasure, while an unseasonable harvest could signal a coming famine. The unpredictability of life was compounded by the constant interpretation of omens. What's more, there's a little-known fact that adds a twist to this narrative. Romans believed that women had a unique connection to the divine, especially when it came to interpreting signs. Female seers were often consulted for their insights into omens, demonstrating that this male-dominated society recognized the power of women in spiritual matters. So the next time you think of ancient Rome, remember that the voices of women were also heard in the temples and homes across the empire, offering guidance during turbulent times. Yet as fascinating as these beliefs are, they also reveal the darker side of Roman society. The fear of omens could lead to paranoia, as public figures often interpreted signs to justify their actions. A successful general could claim his victory was foretold by a bird, while a politician might use the same logic to explain a catastrophic defeat. This manipulation of omens and signs became a powerful tool for those in power, creating a culture of fear and uncertainty that extended beyond mere superstition. Now, imagine being a soldier preparing for battle. You've trained for months, and your life hangs in the balance. Just as you're about to march into what could be your final fight, an augur declares that the omens are not favorable. How would you feel? Prejudice. Would you proceed, driven by duty and honor, or would you retreat, fearing divine wrath? This leads us to a strange but true fact. Some Romans even believed that their future could be foretold through the study of chicken entrails. Yes, you heard that right. The examination of the organs of sacrificed chickens was considered a legitimate way to glean insights into the future. Picture a group of priests intently scrutinizing a pile of guts while the people held their breath, awaiting their fates. It's a bizarre but true testament to how deeply ingrained superstition was in Roman culture. As we explore further, it becomes evident that omens were not just limited to the battlefield. Everyday life was steeped in signs and interpretations. From marriage proposals to business dealings, Romans turned to augurs to ensure they were on the right path. They believed that the right signs could lead to prosperity, while misreading them could spell disaster. The pressure to interpret these signs correctly created a societal obsession with fortune and luck. So, as we delve deeper into the superstitions of the Romans, you'll uncover not just their beliefs, but also the intricate web of fear, power, and interpretation that defined their society. It's a world where the ordinary was suffused with the extraordinary, and where the flap of a bird's wings could alter the course of human history. In this exploration of Roman superstitions, we'll learn how these beliefs shaped their culture and ultimately left a lasting legacy. You might be surprised to find that some of these practices and beliefs echo in our own lives today. Join me as we continue to unravel the strange and fascinating superstitions that permeated Roman life and how they can shed light on our modern world. How could a single glance ruin your entire day? In ancient Rome, this was a genuine concern that shaped social interactions and personal beliefs. The concept of the evil eye, a curse believed to be cast through envy, was a significant part of Roman life. They thought that someone's jealousy could bring misfortune or harm simply by looking at you the wrong way. Imagine going about your daily routine, only to feel the weight of someone's stare, a gaze that could turn your fortune upside down in an instant. This belief created a culture of caution and suspicion, where even the smallest social interactions could be fraught with peril. To protect themselves from the potential danger of the evil eye, Romans adopted various superstitious practices. One of the most common forms of protection was the use of amulets known as bulla. These small, often ornate charms were worn by both children and adults. They were believed to ward off negative energies and prevent the harmful harmful effects of envious glances. But here's a strange fact. The bulla was often filled with protective symbols or inscriptions, and sometimes even small items like herbs, which added to their power. Imagine wearing a necklace not just for style but as a shield against ill will. The notion of the evil eye wasn't merely a superstition. It reflected the Romans' deep-seated values around reputation and social standing. In a society where status and honor were paramount, any hint of envy could disrupt the delicate social fabric. The fear of being the subject of envy often influenced how Romans behaved in public. They were cautious about displaying wealth or success, knowing it could draw unwanted attention. This belief led to a culture where reputation was everything, creating a societal tension where people were constantly worried about how they were perceived. Fascinating to think about how this could lead someone to downplay their achievements just to avoid jealousy. Interestingly, the evil eye concept wasn't just a worry among the common folk. Even the elite were concerned. Politicians, generals, and wealthy citizens often took great care to safeguard themselves against envy. They commissioned intricate amulets, or even held rituals to purify themselves of potential negative influences. A little-known fact that some would go as far as employing professional seers to identify who might be harboring envy towards them. This illustrates how deeply embedded these beliefs were in every aspect of Roman life, from the marketplace to the halls of power. Imagine a politician preparing for a crucial speech. Instead of just practicing his lines, he might spend hours with an augur, checking for any signs of impending misfortune, including the presence of jealous rivals. This intertwining of the supernatural with everyday life created an atmosphere where caution was paramount. Every glance, every whisper in the crowd could hold a deeper meaning. Most people think that the evil eye was merely a quaint superstition, a remnant of a less rational time. But the reality is that the evil eye influenced real behaviors and decisions in significant ways. For instance, the Romans developed a series of gestures and phrases intended to deflect the evil eye. These included spitting 3 times, making a specific sign with their fingers, or reciting protective incantations. Imagine the oddity of being in a conversation and suddenly witnessing someone spit 3 times out of fear. It was a daily dance of social navigation, where individuals constantly sought ways to shield themselves from the ill will of others. Despite their efforts, some Romans believed that certain individuals were especially powerful in casting the evil eye. This belief created a strange dynamic, where people began to scrutinize their neighbors, looking for signs of envy or malice. It led to a culture rife with paranoia, as one might suddenly find themselves accused of harboring ill intentions simply for having a little more luck than another. The irony here is profound. In a society so focused on protecting oneself from envy, the mere act of being successful could become a cause for suspicion. As we delve deeper into Roman beliefs, it's important to note that these superstitions were not confined to a specific class or group. They permeated every layer of society. From wealthy patricians to everyday plebeians, the fear of the evil eye was universal. This shared belief fostered a collective consciousness that shaped how Romans interacted with one another. They all lived under the shadow of potential envy, which molded their social dynamics. The superstitions surrounding the evil eye also gave rise to unique artistic expressions. Pottery, jewelry, and frescoes often depicted images of eyes, believed to serve as protective symbols. These artifacts are not just beautiful remnants of a bygone era. They tell stories of the anxiety and precautions people felt in their daily lives. Every decorative eye was a reminder of the constant threat of envy lurking just beneath the surface of social interactions. However, it's essential to acknowledge that these beliefs could also lead to some absurd situations. Picture a gathering where one person goes out of their way to avoid being complimented, lest they attract envy. Or consider the lengths someone might go to hide their new possessions, fearing that showing off could invoke the curse of the evil eye. The strange irony is that while Romans sought to protect themselves from envy, their behaviors often perpetuated a cycle of insecurity and suspicion. In a fascinating twist, this ancient belief has echoes in modern cultures around the world. From the Mediterranean to parts of Latin America, the concept of the evil eye persists today, showcasing the lasting impact of Roman superstition on contemporary society. Many people still wear protective charms and engage in rituals to ward off negative energy. It's a testament to how deeply ingrained these beliefs can be, transcending time and geography. The culture of caution that arose from the fear of the evil eye highlights the complex interplay between belief and social behavior. It reflects the innate human desire for acceptance and the lengths we go to protect our reputation and well-being. In exploring these superstitions, we uncover not just the fears of the Romans, but also a reflection of our own anxieties about how we are perceived by others. As we continue to examine the peculiar beliefs of the Romans, we'll see how these themes of envy, protection, and reputation influence their entire way of life. What might seem like odd superstitions from the past reveal profound truths about human nature that still resonate today. Stay with us as we explore more of the strange and fascinating superstitions that shaped the Roman world. And hear us. What's so special about the number 3 in Roman culture? To the ancient Romans, numbers were more than mere figures. They were imbued with deep significance and often intertwined with their superstitions. The number 3, in particular, held a special place in their beliefs, seen as a symbol of harmony, completeness, and good fortune. But what if I told you that their fascination with numbers extended far beyond simple counting. From early childhood, Romans learned to revere the power of numbers. They associated the number 3 with many aspects of their lives, including their religious practices, social structures, and even military strategies. For instance, many rituals were performed in threes. It's intriguing to consider that even something as mundane as setting a table would often involve arranging items in groups of 3 to attract luck. This practice was not just superstition, but a way to maintain a sense of order and predictability in a chaotic world. In Roman architecture, the significance of the number 3 is evident. Think of the triadic structure of temples, which often featured 3 main columns at the front. This architectural choice was intentional, as it symbolized stability and balance. The Romans believed that by incorporating this number into their designs, they could invite protection and favor from the gods. Here's a strange fact. The famous Pantheon in Rome is an architectural marvel not just for its size, but also for its harmonious proportions, embodying the principles of the number 3 in its design. Most people think that the importance of numbers in ancient cultures is a given, but the reality is that the Romans took it to another level. They often sought omens based on numbers, particularly 3. If 3 birds flew overhead before a battle, it was considered a good sign. Conversely, encountering 3 misfortunes in quick succession would send alarm bells ringing, prompting people to take precautionary measures. This preoccupation with numerology reveals how deeply embedded superstition was in their decision-making processes. The Romans also linked specific numbers to gods and goddesses, which added another layer of meaning to their superstitions. For example, the triad of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva was revered as the protectors of the Roman state. The number 3 became synonymous with their divine favor. However, it's controversial to suggest that this veneration of numbers limited their worldview. While many would argue that such beliefs were simply superstitions, the Romans viewed them as essential to understanding their place in the cosmos. Throughout their history, the Romans would develop complex systems of numerology that extended beyond just the number 3. They employed mathematics in their engineering and architectural feats, yet they still believed that numbers had a mystical component. Consider this. During the planning of military campaigns, generals would often turn to numerologists to interpret the significance of numbers associated with their troops. If 3 legions were assembled, that was seen as a powerful omen. However, if a general found himself with 2 legions and no third, it could spell disaster. This illustrates the immense pressure Romans felt to align their strategies with their beliefs. It also brings to mind the question of whether this reliance on numbers limited their strategic flexibility. As we dive deeper into this topic, it's essential to acknowledge the lesser-known aspects of Roman numerology. For example, the Romans assigned specific meanings to various numbers, such as 7 being associated with divine perfection. However, the number 4, while neutral in many cultures, was often considered unlucky among Romans because it could be linked to death. It's intriguing to think how such views influenced their daily lives, from construction to ceremonies. To add a touch of humor to this serious subject, imagine a Roman architect consulting his scrolls and muttering about the curse of 4 as he designates the number of windows in a building. The complexity of their beliefs often led to absurd situations that are almost comedic in hindsight. This fascination with numbers also spilled over into their entertainment and leisure activities. In games, for example, 3 was considered a lucky number in dice and board games. The Romans loved gambling, and their superstitions about numbers likely added to the thrill of chance. The idea that rolling a 3 could change your fortune was part of the excitement, making every roll a moment of suspense and anticipation. Furthermore, their rituals and celebrations often incorporated the number 3 as well. During festivals, you might find 3 offerings presented to a deity, symbolizing gratitude and the hope for prosperity. This practice highlights the continuity of their beliefs and the way they integrated superstition into their public and private lives. The significance of numbers also reflected the social hierarchy of Roman society. For example, the concept of triads was common in their military and political structures. A general might have 3 advisors, a unit could consist of 3 centuries, and even discussions about leadership often revolved around 3 key figures. This triadic structure reinforced a sense of stability and order amidst the complexities of their empire. In the end, the importance of numbers, particularly the number 3, in Roman culture reveals a fascinating intersection of superstition, spirituality, and everyday life. It invites us to reflect on how numbers influence our own lives today. From superstitions about lucky numbers to the way we plan events, the legacy of Roman numerology continues to echo in our society. As we unravel the significance of numbers in Roman culture, we see that their beliefs were not just arbitrary, but rather a reflection of their quest for understanding in a world filled with uncertainties. Join us as we continue to explore the strange superstitions that shaped Roman society and how these ancient beliefs can inform our understanding of the modern world. What did the Romans do to ensure a happy marriage? When it comes to weddings, the ancient Romans had an array of quirky and fascinating superstitions that might seem odd to us today. From rituals designed to ward off evil spirits to specific foods that were believed to guarantee happiness, Roman wedding customs were deeply entwined with their beliefs about luck and fate. But what if I told you that these practices often reflected their hopes and fears about the future? More more than just their desire for a successful marriage. The Romans placed immense importance on the idea that a wedding was not merely a union of two people, but a vital step that required the blessings of the gods and spirits. They believed that the right rituals could set the stage for a prosperous and joyful life together. One of the most interesting practices was the custom of the bride tripping over the threshold as she entered her new home. This act was not merely an accident. It was thought to ensure good fortune for the couple. Imagine a bride, dressed in her finest, suddenly stumbling, yet that stumble could be the key to her marital bliss. This belief reflects the Romans' unique blend of seriousness and superstition, revealing how they navigated the uncertainties of life. Most people think of wedding ceremonies as straightforward affairs, but for the Romans, each detail was laden with significance. For instance, the bride was often expected to wear a special belt, known as the cingulum, which was tied in a particular knot. This knot symbolized the bond of marriage and was believed to be a protection against ill fortune. But here's a strange fact. It was not uncommon for the bride to cut her hair and offer it to the goddess Venus as a sacrifice to ensure a harmonious relationship. Such rituals show just how seriously Romans took their marital practices, treating each step as essential to securing divine favor. In addition to these peculiar customs, specific foods were associated with weddings to ward off bad luck. For example, wheat was commonly used in wedding cakes, symbolizing fertility and abundance. The act of sharing cake was seen as a way to ensure that the couple would experience plenty and joy in their life together. However, it's controversial to suggest that all Romans adhered to these practices. Many wealthier families often showcase their extravagance in ceremonies, leading to questions about whether these rituals were sincere or simply performances to impress their peers. The wedding ceremony itself was rich with rituals. Before the wedding day, brides would participate in a purification ceremony known as lustratio. This ritual was intended to cleanse the bride of any negative influences before she stepped into marriage. Following the ceremony, guests would shower the couple with nuts and seeds as a symbol of fertility. You might wonder about the practicality of this. It sounds quite messy, doesn't it? But it was believed that the more nuts and seeds rained down, the more prosperous the couple's life would be. Moreover, Romans took their superstitions seriously enough to hire seers to predict the future of a couple's marriage based on omens. They would examine the behavior of birds, the appearance of the sky, and even the state of the livestock to discern whether the marriage would be blessed. Imagine planning your wedding around the whims of nature. It reflects not only the depth of their beliefs, but also the lengths to which they would go to ensure a successful marriage. Certain days were deemed more auspicious than others, and couples often consulted calendars and priests to find the most favorable dates for their nuptials. Interestingly, the month of June was particularly favored for weddings due to its association with the goddess Juno, the protector of marriage and women. This led to the saying that June brides are particularly lucky, a concept that still resonates in modern wedding customs today. Yet, while these superstitions might seem overly cautious, they reflected the Romans' need for stability and happiness in an unpredictable world. They believed that by adhering to these customs, they could influence their fate and ensure that their unions were blessed. It's fascinating to consider how these rituals reveal a lot about Roman society's values, particularly their emphasis on family, loyalty, and the importance of the community in personal affairs. However, it's essential to remember that not all marriages in Rome conform to these rituals. Arranged marriages were common, often made for political or economic reasons rather than love. This brings up a critical point: the contrast between romantic love and the practicalities of marriage in ancient Rome. While many couples adhered to superstitions to ensure happiness, others had little say in their marriage arrangements, highlighting the complexities of love and duty in Roman society. As we reflect on these unusual wedding rituals, we uncover the deeper themes of hope, tradition, and the human desire for connection that transcends time. The Romans believed that rituals could offer some control over their destiny, a sentiment that echoes in many cultures today. While our customs may have evolved, the underlying need for assurance and protection in our relationships remains relevant. In understanding these strange Roman practices, we see that they were more than mere traditions. They were essential elements of a societal framework that sought to bring happiness and security to their families. Just as the Romans used rituals to navigate the complexities of marriage, we too can find meaning in our customs, understanding that they serve as reflections of our values and aspirations. As we continue to explore the strange and captivating superstitions of the Romans, remember that these practices illuminate the intricate ways in which culture shapes our beliefs and behaviors. Join us as we delve deeper into how these customs can inform our understanding of love and relationships today, revealing the timeless nature of human connection. Could your dreams hold the key to your future? In ancient Rome, dreams were not simply fleeting visions of the night. They were taken very seriously, often viewed as profound omens sent from the gods. Romans believed that the messages carried in dreams could offer insights into their fate and guidance for their daily lives. This belief system was so influential that dream interpreters were highly sought after, as people sought to decode the mysteries of their nightly visions. Imagine waking up from a vivid dream where you were surrounded by strange symbols and mysterious figures. In ancient Rome, that dream would not be dismissed as mere imagination. It would be examined closely for meaning. The Romans categorized dreams into various types. Some were seen as divine messages, while others might be interpreted as warnings or reflections of the dreamer's psyche. This categorization demonstrates just how deeply intertwined their dreams were with their beliefs and daily decisions. One intriguing aspect of this belief system is that specific symbols in dreams were assigned particular meaning. For instance, dreaming of a snake might indicate a need to be cautious about betrayal, while a dream about water could symbolize purification and renewal. But here's a strange fact. Some Romans believed that the most prophetic dreams occurred in the last third of the night, leading them to wake up and immediately consult a dream interpreter before the day began. This urgency illustrates the importance placed on these dreams and the potential consequences of ignoring them. Most people think that dream interpretation is a modern concept, but the reality is that the Romans developed a sophisticated approach to understanding dreams long before the psychological theories of today. They would keep dream journals to track recurring themes and symbols, a practice that can sound surprisingly familiar in our modern context of self-reflection and analysis. However, unlike today, where dreams are often seen as personal reflections, the Romans viewed them as messages from the divine, bridging the gap between the mortal world and the realm of the gods. But this belief in dreams as divine messages created a unique societal dynamic. On one hand, it empowered individuals to seek guidance through their dreams, potentially leading to more thoughtful decision-making. On the other hand, it could also lead to paranoia and fear if someone interpreted their dreams negatively. Imagine a Roman citizen waking up terrified after dreaming about a dying loved one. Potential implications could be overwhelming, causing them to alter their behavior or make drastic life choices based on a single night's vision. Furthermore, dream interpretation was often influenced by the prevailing cultural and social climate. During times of political upheaval, dreams of war or conflict might become more common, reflecting the anxieties of society at large. This creates a fascinating interplay between personal experience and collective consciousness. When examining this phenomenon, it becomes clear that Romans were acutely aware of how their individual dreams connected to larger societal trends. Interestingly, Romans also believed that certain deities had dominion over dreams. For instance, Morpheus, the god of dreams, was said to be able to take on any human form, providing guidance and insight through dreams. The reverence for these deities illustrates how intertwined spirituality was with daily life. Many Romans would pray to these gods before sleep, seeking favorable and enlightening dreams. This practice not only reflects their beliefs about dreams, but also emphasizes the desire for divine intervention in their everyday lives. Yet it's essential to consider the more controversial side of Roman beliefs regarding dreams. Some individuals exploited these superstitions for personal gain, presenting themselves as dream interpreters to capitalize on the fears and anxieties of others. This raises questions about the ethics of such practices and highlights how deeply ingrained superstitions can be manipulated for profit. It's a little-known fact that many frauds were eventually exposed, leading to increased skepticism around dream interpretation as the Roman Empire progressed. As we delve deeper into Roman beliefs about dreams, we uncover their fascinating rituals surrounding sleep. For instance, before going to bed, many Romans would prepare their sleeping area meticulously, believing that a cluttered space could lead to disturbed sleep and bad dreams. They would often place protective symbols under their pillows or sleep with specific objects to ward off negative influences. This practice emphasizes how Romans sought to create a safe space for their nightly journeys into the dream world. The interplay between dreams and daily life was so significant that Romans even had specific ceremonies designed to invoke prophetic dreams. One such ritual involved fasting before sleep to purify the mind and spirit, allowing for clearer communication with the divine. Picture a group of individuals gathered in quiet contemplation, seeking answers through a shared experience. The communal aspect of these rituals reflects the social fabric of Roman society, where personal beliefs were often shared and reinforced within a community. In conclusion, the role of dreams in ancient Roman culture reveals a complex tapestry of beliefs that influenced everything from personal choices to societal norms. Dreams were seen as powerful tools for insight and guidance, deeply intertwined with the fabric of their daily lives. By understanding these beliefs, we can gain insight into how the Romans navigated their world, seeking meaning and understanding in the uncertainties of life. As we continue to explore the strange superstitions of the Romans, it's important to reflect on how these ancient beliefs resonate with our modern understanding of dreams. Join us as we uncover more of the intriguing rituals and customs that shaped Roman culture and their beliefs about the mysteries of the night. How did fear of the afterlife influence Roman behavior? In ancient Rome, death was not merely an end, but a significant transition that carried weighty implications for the living. Romans had a complex relationship with the afterlife, and their beliefs surrounding it shaped many of their customs, rituals, and even their daily interactions. They feared that failing to honor the dead could bring about misfortune, leading to a society that took elaborate steps to appease the spirits of those who had passed on. Consider this: the Romans believed that neglecting the dead could lead to them becoming restless spirits, haunting the living. This belief was so entrenched that it manifested in a variety of rituals aimed at ensuring safe passage to the afterlife for the deceased and peace for the living. Imagine a family grieving the loss of a loved one, not only mourning but also frantically preparing for elaborate burial rituals to appease that loved one's spirit. This shows just how serious they took their responsibilities. Most people think that death was simply a part of life for the Romans, but the reality is that their customs were driven by a deep-rooted fear of the consequences of improper burials and forgetfulness. They had a myriad of rituals that reflected their concerns, from funerals that included music and feasting to the practice of placing coins in the mouths of the deceased to pay Charon, the ferryman of the underworld. This practice was not merely tradition, it was a necessary step to ensure safe passage, illustrating the belief that every detail mattered when it came to interacting with the afterlife. The Romans also placed great emphasis on honoring their ancestors. They maintained household shrines known as lararia, where offerings were made to family spirits, known as lares and manes. These offerings could be as simple as a plate of food or as elaborate as a yearly feast. This practice highlights the intersection of reverence and fear in their relationship with death. They wanted to ensure their ancestors were happy and satisfied, as any displeasure could result in dire consequences for the living. Strangely enough, the Romans also believed that the dead could influence the fortunes of the living. A neglected grave could lead to family misfortune, while a well-cared-for burial site might bring good luck. This strange dynamic created a culture of caution and respect that permeated Roman society, encouraging people to think carefully about how they honored the dead. The idea that your future could hinge on your treatment of the deceased was a powerful motivator for the living. However, it's worth noting that this fear extended beyond personal relationships. It influenced broader societal norms, leading to complex rituals around public funerals. These events were elaborate affairs, often attended by large crowds, signifying respect and honor for the deceased. The death of a prominent figure would lead to public mourning, with citizens expected to display their grief outwardly. This public expression of sorrow not only honored the deceased, but also reinforced social bonds within the community. The Romans understood that how they treated their dead reflected their values and beliefs about life itself. In addition to these rituals, the Romans also believed in a variety of omens and signs related to death. If someone dreamed of a deceased loved one, it was often interpreted as a sign that the spirit was trying to communicate. Such interpretations added another layer of complexity to their understanding of the afterlife. People sought to interpret these dreams or signs to glean wisdom or warnings about their own lives. The belief that the deceased could interact with the living through dreams created an ongoing dialogue between the two realms. The mystery of death did not solely inspire fear, it also fostered a sense of curiosity about what lay beyond. The Romans created elaborate tombs and burial sites, often adorned with inscriptions and art that reflected the individual's life and accomplishments. These sites served as both a resting place and a reminder of the deceased's existence, allowing the living to reflect on their own mortality and legacy. It's intriguing to think that while they feared death, they also celebrated it as a critical aspect of life. The complexities of Roman funerary practices also revealed a societal hierarchy. The wealthy could afford grand funerals that showcased their status and provided a means to project their legacy, while the lower classes often had simpler burials, sometimes leading to feelings of shame or neglect in death. This disparity underscores how even in death, social status played a pivotal role in how individuals were honored and remembered. While it may seem that Roman beliefs about death were steeped in superstition, they were also pragmatic. The rituals and customs surrounding death were a means to cope with the uncertainties of life, providing structure and comfort during times of grief. By honoring the dead, Romans sought to control the uncontrollable, hoping to secure a favorable outcome in both their personal lives and their community. As we delve deeper into these customs, we find that the fear of the afterlife was not merely about death itself, but about what it represented. The unknown. Romans feared being forgotten or leaving their loved ones vulnerable to misfortune. This fear influenced their behavior, compelling them to act with respect toward the deceased and ensure that the bonds between the living and the dead remained strong. In summary, the Romans' complex beliefs about death and the afterlife reveal a society deeply intertwined with superstition, tradition, and a desire for connection. Their customs highlight the lengths to which they went to secure peace for both the dead and the living, demonstrating that their fears shaped not only their rituals, but also their identities. As we explore further, we'll see how these beliefs and practices influence their culture and continue to resonate today, connecting us to the timeless human experience of grappling with mortality. Could a few spoken words change your destiny? In ancient Rome, the power of incantations was a deeply rooted belief that permeated the fabric of daily life. Romans believed that certain phrases, when spoken at the right moment and in the right context, could invoke luck, ward off evil, or even compel the gods to take notice. This practice reveals not only the superstitions that guided their lives, but also the rich cultural heritage that shaped their understanding of the world. Imagine a Roman standing in a bustling marketplace, surrounded by merchants and citizens. As they prepare to make a significant purchase or embark on a journey, they mutter a specific incantation, believing it will ensure a favorable outcome. This simple act reflects a profound intertwining of faith, culture, and everyday life. What may seem like mere words to us was, to them, a powerful tool, one that could alter the course of their fortunes. Most people think of ancient Rome as a civilization function governed solely by reason and military might. But the reality is that their daily existence was infused with rituals and beliefs that seemed mystical. Incantations were not just for the high priests or the elite. They were accessible to everyone, from common laborers to wealthy citizens. The universality of this practice underscores how pervasive their beliefs about the power of words were. The Romans had a particular affinity for specific phrases believed to hold magical properties. For instance, phrases were recited during rituals meant to invoke good fortune or to protect against malevolent forces. Often these words were part of a tradition passed down through generations, each family having its own set of cherished incantations. This highlights a unique aspect of Roman life, the blending of personal belief with cultural heritage, where family history was enriched by the words spoken in times of need. An intriguing aspect of these incantations is how they often incorporated everyday language into a spiritual practice. For example, common phrases might be recited over food before a meal to bless it or to protect the household from misfortune. The act of speaking these words turned mundane moments into sacred opportunities, a means to connect with the divine. This illustrates that Romans viewed their lives as intertwined with a spiritual dimension, where every action had the potential to invite either blessing or curse. The Romans were also meticulous about the context in which they used these incantations. Certain words were believed to be more powerful depending on the time of day or the specific situation. This specificity added layers of complexity to their practice, as one had to be mindful of when and how to speak these powerful phrases. This careful consideration of timing speaks to a culture that revered both words and their associated meanings, understanding that the right phrase at the right moment could change everything. However, incantations were not merely tools for invoking good fortune. They were also used as protective measures against bad luck and evil spirits. Many Romans would recite incantations when entering their homes, especially after returning from a journey, to ward off any malevolent forces that may have followed them. This practice reveals a deep-seated fear of the unknown, showcasing how even in their daily routines, Romans were cautious about the invisible threats that lurked beyond their understanding. What's even more fascinating is the role of women in these practices. Historical accounts indicate that women were often the keepers of family incantations, passing down knowledge and ensuring that the right phrases were spoken at critical moments. This empowerment through language and ritual highlights the significant, though often overlooked, influence women had in shaping Roman spiritual life. It challenges the typical portrayal of Roman society as male-dominated and brings to light the vital roles women played in sustaining cultural traditions. Strangely enough, the Romans also believed that failure to perform these rituals correctly could lead to dire consequences. An improperly recited incantation might not only fail to invoke protection, but could also backfire, leading to misfortune or attracting malevolent spirits. This belief created a culture of anxiety around the proper execution of rituals, where every syllable mattered and the stakes were high. The fear of making a mistake added a layer of tension to daily life, prompting individuals to ensure they adhered to tradition. Incantations were also seen as a means of communicating with the divine. Romans believed that certain words could reach the ears of their gods, invoking their favor or guidance. For instance, during significant events like battles or public ceremonies, leaders would recite incantations to seek the gods' blessing. This practice reveals a society that deeply engaged with the divine, where the lines between the mortal and divine realms were fluid and influenced by the spoken word. As the Roman Empire expanded, so did the variety of incantations and magical practices. Influences from conquered peoples and cultures merged with traditional Roman beliefs, creating a rich tapestry of spiritual practices that varied from region to region. This evolution of incantations showcases the adaptability of Roman culture, demonstrating how they embraced and integrated diverse beliefs into their. This intersection of tradition and evolution illustrates the dynamic nature of Roman spirituality. While they held fast to their ancient practices, they also remained open to new ideas and influences, showcasing a culture that valued both its roots and the possibilities of transformation. This adaptability speaks to a broader human experience, the quest for meaning and connection in an ever-changing world. In conclusion, the power of incantations in ancient Rome reveals a society that intertwined belief, language, and daily life in profound ways. Romans understood that words held power to heal, to protect, and to connect with the divine. Their reliance on incantations reflects not only their spiritual beliefs, but also their cultural identity, showcasing a civilization deeply engaged with the mysteries of existence. By exploring these practices, we gain insight into how the Romans navigated their world, seeking assurance in the face of uncertainty and finding strength in the spoken word. As we reflect on these beliefs, we may discover echoes of our own rituals and superstitions, reminding us of the timeless human desire to influence our destinies through the words we choose. What did farmers believe could affect their harvest? In ancient Rome, agriculture was not just a means of sustenance. It was steeped in superstitions that dictated every aspect of farming life. The Romans believed that the whims of the gods were intricately tied to their ability to grow crops, and as a result, they developed a plethora of rituals and practices designed to secure favorable outcomes in their agricultural endeavors. Consider this: a farmer, standing in the midst of his fields, faces an empty sky. The rain is needed, but so is the sun. one. In a world where crops meant life or death, the stakes were high. To mitigate the risks, Romans engaged in various superstitious practices that they believed would ensure a good harvest. They would perform specific rituals on particular days, seeking to appease the gods and the spirits of the land. The intertwining of agriculture and superstition created a culture that was both rich in belief and deeply practical in its approach to farming. Most people think that farmers simply rely on science and techniques to grow their crops, but the reality is that Roman farmers blended practical knowledge with their superstitious beliefs. They kept detailed calendars that indicated the most auspicious days for planting and harvesting, but these were not merely based on lunar cycles or seasonal changes. Instead, they were infused with religious significance and traditional practices that had been handed down through generations. This approach reveals a profound connection between daily life and the spiritual realm, highlighting the complexities of their agricultural practices. A rare fact that may surprise you is that the Romans avoided planting on specific days considered unlucky, such as during the full moon or on the Ides of March, due to the belief that these times would bring bad luck. They believed that ignoring these warnings could ruin their crops and lead to financial ruin. This shows just how much superstition influenced their agricultural calendar, indicating a deep-seated fear of the unknown and a desire to control their destinies through rituals. Additionally, Roman farmers often performed animal sacrifices to the gods of agriculture, such as Ceres, the goddess of grain. They believed that offering a portion of their harvest or a prized animal would curry favor with these deities, leading to bountiful yields. This practice not only reflects the significant role religion played in their agricultural endeavors, but also underscores the lengths to which they would go to ensure the success of their crops. Farmers also engaged in rituals that were intended to bless their fields. These could range from simple acts, like the sprinkling of salt or the burning of incense, to elaborate ceremonies involving processions and music. These rituals created a sense of community among farmers, as they often gathered together to perform them, reinforcing shared beliefs and fostering a collective identity rooted in agriculture. Strangely enough, despite the reliance on these rituals, the Romans were not entirely without a sense of humor about their superstitions. Some farmers would make light of their beliefs by jokingly asking the gods for rain, while simultaneously looking for rainbows. This blend of reverence and humor illustrates the complexity of their relationship with the divine. They were serious about their rituals, but understood the absurdity of their reliance on the whims of fate. Another surprising aspect of Roman agricultural superstition is the use of augury. Farmers would observe the behaviors of birds and other animals as omens that indicated the right times for planting or harvesting. A flock of birds flying in a certain direction could signal a good time to sow seeds. This practice not only shows the importance of observation in their agricultural methods, but also illustrates how intertwined their superstitions were with the natural world. The connection between agriculture and superstition in Rome was not merely about avoiding bad luck. It was also about fostering a deep respect for the land and its fertility. By adhering to these beliefs and practices, Roman farmers sought to create a harmonious relationship with the earth. They understood that their survival depended on the land, and through their rituals, they expressed gratitude and reverence for the resources it provided. These beliefs about agriculture also extended to the home, where families would maintain household altars to honor the spirits of the land. They would leave offerings at these altars to ensure that the spirits remained pleased and that their crops would thrive. This practice underscores the notion that farming was not just a physical endeavor but a spiritual one, intertwined with the very essence of Roman identity. In conclusion, the superstitions surrounding agriculture in ancient Rome reveal a culture deeply engaged with both the practical and the mystical aspects of farming. The Romans believed that their fortunes were inextricably linked to their rituals and the favor of the gods. By observing omens, performing sacrifices, and maintaining a calendar of auspicious days, they sought to navigate the uncertainties of agricultural life. This unique blend of practicality and spirituality shaped their agricultural practices and underscores the timeless human desire to find meaning and control in a world filled with uncertainties. The legacy of these beliefs invites us to reflect on our own connections to the land and the ways in which we seek to influence our fates, reminding us that even in modern times, we often rely on rituals, be they cultural or personal, to navigate the complexities of life. What were animals really doing in Roman rituals? Imagine standing in the center of an ancient Roman forum, the air thick with the scent of incense and the sounds of chants. In front of you, priests and citizens gather for a ritual that is both public spectacle and deeply personal offering. Animal sacrifices were not merely acts of devotion. They were vital practices aimed at appeasing the gods, ensuring fertility, and invoking favor. To the Romans, these sacrifices were a way to bridge the human and divine realms. Many people think animal sacrifices were barbaric acts of violence, but the reality is that they were intricate rituals steeped in meaning and tradition. The Romans believed that specific animals had unique powers or associations with various deities. For instance, a sheep might be offered to the goddess Ceres for a good harvest, while a pig could be sacrificed to the god Mars before a battle. Each choice was deliberate and filled with cultural significance, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of their beliefs and the cosmos. One of the most striking facts about Roman sacrifices is the involvement of the entire entire community. It wasn't just the priests who participated. Families would attend, contributing to the ritual by bringing their own offerings. This collective involvement fostered a sense of unity among the people. The sacrifice often concluded with a communal feast, where the meat from the sacrificed animal was shared among the participants. This blend of sacrifice and celebration illustrates how integral these practices were to Roman social life. A lesser-known aspect of these rituals is the method of divination that accompanied them. Before a sacrifice was made, priests would often inspect the animal for any signs or omens. The entrails were particularly significant. They were studied meticulously to interpret the will of the gods. This practice of augury highlighted a belief that the deities communicated through the natural world, and understanding these signs was essential for guiding decisions in public and private life. However, not all animal sacrifices went smoothly. There were superstitions surrounding the act itself. If the animal struggled or resisted at the moment of sacrifice, it was seen as a bad omen. Such occurrences could lead to panic and a scramble to appease the gods further. This illustrates the precarious balance the Romans felt they had to maintain in their relationship with the divine. It was a constant negotiation, with rituals serving as the means of ensuring that harmony was upheld. The public nature of these sacrifices often led to elaborate ceremonies. Some rituals involved the participation of high-ranking officials, including emperors, who would lead the sacrifices to demonstrate their piety and connection to the gods. This practice reinforced their power and authority, intertwining political and religious life in a way that was unique to Roman culture. An emperor who performed successful sacrifices could bolster public support, showing that their leadership was sanctioned by divine favor. Interestingly, animal sacrifices also had a place in Roman funerary practices. It was customary to sacrifice animals at the graves of the deceased as offerings to ensure safe passage to the afterlife. This connection between death and sacrifice underscores the Romans' belief in the importance of maintaining relationships with the dead, ensuring their comfort in the afterlife through acts of devotion from the living. Yet these practices were not without controversy. Philosophers and critics often questioned the morality of animal sacrifices, suggesting that they reflected a barbaric understanding of spirituality. This debate reveals an interesting tension in Roman society, where traditional beliefs clashed with emerging philosophical ideas. Despite these criticisms, animal sacrifices persisted, indicating their deep-rooted significance in Roman culture. In the broader context of religion, understanding Roman animal sacrifices reshapes our view of their spirituality. These acts were not just about seeking favor. They were about maintaining balance in a complex relationship with the divine. The sacrifices served as a reminder that the gods were always watching, and the Romans believed that their fate was closely tied to the success or failure of these rituals. As we reflect on this, it's important to consider how the legacy of Roman animal sacrifices has echoed through history. Many modern religions continue to have rituals that involve offerings, whether literal or symbolic. This connection to the past invites us to explore how our own beliefs and practices are influenced by ancient traditions. In conclusion, animal sacrifices in ancient Rome were multifaceted practices that encompass spirituality, community, and social structure. They were vital for appeasing the gods and ensuring a prosperous life. By understanding the intricacies of these rituals, we gain insight into the Roman worldview, where every aspect of life was interconnected with the divine. Through these rituals, the Romans expressed their hopes, fears, and aspirations, and in doing so, they created a legacy that continues to shape our understanding of spirituality today. Why were left-handers treated differently in Rome? Imagine walking through the bustling streets of ancient Rome, where every action and gesture carried profound significance. In this vibrant society, the way you used your hands could determine not only your reputation, but also your fate. Romans viewed left-handedness as a bad omen, a belief that shaped societal norms and expectations in ways that might seem perplexing to us today. Most people think that being left-handed is simply a matter of preference or genetics, but the reality is that in ancient Rome, it was often associated with misfortune. The Latin word for left is sinister, which translates not only to left but also carries connotations of evil or malevolence. This linguistic connection reveals a deep-seated cultural bias against left-handedness that permeated Roman life. In Roman society, left-handed actions were frequently linked to bad luck or ill fortune. If a child was discovered to be left-handed, it could raise immediate concerns about their future. Parents might go to great lengths to encourage right-handedness, believing that using the left hand could attract the ire of the gods or lead to misfortune. Imagine the pressure on children to conform, constantly reminded that their natural inclinations could bring shame or disaster upon their families. A strange yet revealing practice associated with this superstition was the way left-handed individuals were treated during rituals. For example, during significant ceremonies, right-handed gestures were preferred, and any left-handed actions were often viewed as bad omens. This belief could extend to various aspects of life, including marriage and public service, where being left-handed might be seen as a sign of weakness or deficiency. Consider the implications of this belief on societal attitudes. Romans believed that left-handedness could signal a lack of discipline or control. This perception led to discrimination against left-handed people, impacting their opportunities in both personal and professional realms. Those who were naturally left-handed faced a cultural pressure that often forced them to adapt to a right-handed world. Many resorted to learning how to use their right hand for daily activities, often with great difficulty and frustration. One of the most significant controversies surrounding left-handedness in Rome was the way it influenced societal expectations. Left-handed individuals were often relegated to specific roles or viewed with suspicion, particularly in the military. For instance, a soldier who used their left hand in battle might be seen as unlucky or cursed, which could affect unit morale. This belief permeated Roman military culture, where the right hand was associated with strength and valor, reinforcing the stigma against left-handedness. Interestingly, this bias wasn't limited to Rome. Similar sentiments existed in various ancient cultures, from the Greeks to the Egyptians. However, what makes the Roman perspective particularly intriguing is the way it intertwined with their broader religious and cultural beliefs. The Romans were deeply superstitious, and any deviation from the norm, like being left-handed, was often perceived as a sign of disfavor from the gods. The fascinating thing about these beliefs is how they evolved over time. As Rome transitioned from a republic to an empire, and as the influence of Christianity grew, perspectives on left-handedness began to shift. While left-handedness was still often viewed with suspicion, the rise of Christianity introduced new values that sometimes countered older pagan superstitions. This evolution illustrates how cultural beliefs can change over time, influenced by shifting societal norms and religious ideologies. Consider this. In many cultures, left-handed individuals still face stereotypes that label them as odd or unlucky. The historical stigma against left-handedness reveals how deeply ingrained beliefs can persist across generations, impacting how we perceive and treat those who differ from societal norms. As we reflect on the treatment of left-handed individuals in ancient Rome, we uncover a rich tapestry of beliefs that shape personal identities and societal roles. These ancient prejudices remind us that our perceptions of normalcy are often culturally constructed, and they encourage us to question our biases today. The story of left-handedness in Rome serves as a powerful reminder that understanding our past can illuminate the paths toward a more inclusive future, where differences are embraced rather than stigmatized. In conclusion, the stigma surrounding left-handedness in ancient Rome reveals the complex interplay between culture, belief, and identity. The Romans' view of left-handedness as a bad omen significantly influenced societal norms and personal experiences, leading to a pervasive discrimination that affected many lives. By examining these historical beliefs, we gain valuable insights into the enduring impact of superstitions on human behavior and social dynamics, encouraging us to embrace diversity and challenge our own biases in the process. What role did festivals play in Roman superstition? Imagine a bustling street in ancient Rome, vibrant with the sounds of laughter, music, and the aroma of delicious food wafting through the air. Festivals were not just mere celebrations, they were an essential part of the Roman psyche, intricately woven into the fabric of their society. These grand events were steeped in superstition and tradition, serving as a critical link between the people and their gods. Most people think of festivals as simple parties, but the reality is that for the Romans, they were serious affairs designed to appease the divine. Festivals were held throughout the year, each one dedicated to specific deities or significant events in the Roman calendar. These celebrations were often marked by rituals intended to ensure fertility, good harvests, and the overall well-being of the community. One peculiar aspect of these festivals was the emphasis on rituals that included offerings and sacrifices. In a fascinating twist, some festivals involved not just giving thanks but also begging for forgiveness from the gods. During the Lupercalia festival, for instance, priests would sacrifice goats and use their skins to whip the crowds, believed to bring fertility and health. This strange yet compelling practice underscores how deeply intertwined superstition and everyday life were for the Romans. The significance of these festivals extended beyond mere religious observance. They reinforced social bonds within the community. Citizens came together, united by shared beliefs and traditions, creating a sense of belonging. The communal aspect of these festivals was vital in maintaining the societal structure of Rome. While some may argue that festivals were simply for entertainment, the reality is that they served a much greater purpose in solidifying the moral fabric of Roman society. Strange but true, many festivals included games and competitions, often thought to be a way to entertain the gods. The Romans believed that a good show would bring divine favor, leading to an abundance of good fortune. These games were not just for the spectators, they served as a way to showcase bravery and skill, reflecting the values that the Romans held dear. In stark contrast, some festivals also had a darker side. The Saturnalia, for instance, was a time when social norms were turned upside down. During this festival, slaves would be treated as equals, and roles were often reversed. While this may seem like a progressive step, the underlying belief was that such chaos would please the god Saturn, ensuring good fortune in the coming year. This complexity in the nature of festivals reveals how the Romans navigated the fine line between order and chaos. Moreover, the influence of festivals stretched beyond religious practices. They significantly impacted agricultural cycles, with many celebrations timed to coincide with planting or harvest seasons. The connection between festivals and agriculture demonstrates how Romans saw their fate as intertwined with the divine. Rituals were performed to to ask for good weather or abundant crops, emphasizing that the blessings of the gods were essential for survival. It's worth noting that while Romans were devoutly superstitious, their beliefs also allowed for a surprising degree of flexibility. Festivals could be adapted or even created to respond to current events or societal changes. This adaptability shows how festivals were not just rigid observances, but evolving traditions that reflected the society's changing needs and beliefs. As we delve deeper into the significance of Roman festivals, we uncover how they influenced various aspects of life, from politics to personal relationships. Leaders often used festivals to gain popularity, understanding that public favor could be won through grand displays of generosity during these times. Thus, the political landscape of Rome was, in many ways, shaped by the festivals that punctuated its calendar. You might be surprised to learn that the legacy of these Roman festivals extends into modern times. Many contemporary celebrations around the world echo Roman traditions, adapted but still retaining elements of their ancient roots. For instance, the concept of a carnival, characterized by revelry and public displays, can trace its lineage back to these Roman festivities. As we explore the role of festivals in Roman superstition, we uncover a rich tapestry of beliefs that shaped personal identities and societal roles. These ancient celebrations remind us that our perceptions of normalcy are often culturally constructed, encouraging us to reflect on the roots of our own festive traditions today. The story of Roman festivals serves as a powerful reminder that understanding our past can illuminate the paths toward a more connected and inclusive future. In conclusion, festivals in ancient Rome were far more than just celebrations. They were vital components of the societal framework. They intertwined religious devotion with community engagement, agriculture, and even politics. The superstitions surrounding these festivals highlight the Romans' complex relationship with their gods and the world around them. By examining these historical beliefs, we gain valuable insights into the enduring impact of superstition on human behavior and social dynamics, urging us to embrace diversity and challenge our own biases in the process. What small actions could turn your luck around? In ancient Rome, the concept of luck was not just an abstract idea. It was woven into the fabric of everyday life through rituals and superstitions that governed how people behaved. Romans were intensely aware of the power of these small gestures, believing that they could attract fortune or ward off misfortune. Most people think that luck is purely a matter of chance, but the reality is that Romans believed it could be manipulated through specific actions and rituals. From the moment they woke up, Romans engaged in practices designed to ensure a favorable day ahead. Whether it was the way they greeted someone or the first foot they put out of bed, every detail mattered in their quest for good luck. One fascinating fact is that Romans often believed that the first person to enter their home in the morning could dictate the tone of the day. If that person was deemed unlucky, the rest of the day could be doomed. To counter this, families would sometimes hire a friend to be the first one through the door. This practice highlights how seriously they took these superstitions, as it directly impacted their daily lives. Additionally, everyday rituals for good luck included odd habits like spitting or touching specific objects. Spitting was considered a way to deflect bad luck. It might seem strange today, but imagine a Roman encountering an omen they disliked. They would simply spit to counteract the negativity. This simple act was not merely superstitious. It served as a psychological tool to empower individuals in uncertain situations. These rituals weren't just limited to personal actions. The Romans also believed in the power of objects, such as charms and amulets, to bring good fortune. One of the most commonly used amulets was the bulla, often worn by children to protect them from evil spirits and the evil eye. The bulla was seen not just as a protective talisman, but as a means of ensuring luck. The irony, the very belief in these objects created a cycle where people felt empowered, which in turn fostered a sense of agency over their lives. Moreover, Romans engaged in more complex rituals that spanned entire communities. For instance, during public events or games, the people would partake in ceremonies that included chanting and making offerings. These collective rituals aimed to ensure the success of the event and, by extension, the good fortune of the participants. A curious fact, some spectators would even carry small tokens that they believed would bring luck to their chosen teams. This illustrates how deeply embedded the belief in luck was within the social fabric of Roman life. As we delve deeper into the peculiarities of Roman rituals for good luck, we see how they also maintained traditions that celebrated favorable outcomes. Festivals dedicated to gods like Fortuna, the goddess of luck, were elaborate affairs filled with music, dance, and offerings. People believed that by participating in these festivities, they could align themselves with divine favor, making their chances of success much higher. However, this reliance on rituals also had a controversial side. While many believed wholeheartedly in these practices, skeptics viewed them as foolish or superstitious. This divide in perception shows us how beliefs about luck can shape social dynamics, leading to conflict between traditionalists and modernists even in ancient times. You might find it surprising that even the language of Romans reflected their beliefs about luck. Phrases like, "to cross one's fingers for good luck," are thought to originate from ancient Rome. This expression was linked to the idea of invoking protection from the gods, showcasing how language and superstition intersect in fascinating ways. Additionally, some of these rituals for good luck carry on into modern practices. You might recognize some of them in your own life, whether it's carrying a lucky coin or avoiding walking under a ladder. The continuity of these beliefs illustrates the lasting impact of Roman superstitions on our contemporary understanding of luck and fortune. As we unravel the web of superstitions surrounding good luck in ancient Rome, we see how they were not merely odd behaviors, but rather critical aspects of their cultural identity. These actions reflect a broader human desire to control the uncontrollable and to find meaning in the chaos of life. The rituals served as a bridge between the mundane and the divine, allowing Romans to navigate their world with a semblance of confidence. In summary, the small actions Romans engaged in to attract good luck reveal much about their cultural values and societal norms. By embracing these rituals, they sought to exert control over their fates, creating a rich tapestry of beliefs that shaped their daily lives. As we explore the echoes of these ancient practices in modern society, we gain insight into how superstitions, while sometimes dismissed as trivial, hold profound significance in our understanding of luck, fortune, and the human experience. How do Roman beliefs influence us today? The legacy of Roman superstitions is a fascinating subject that often goes unnoticed. Many people think that ancient beliefs have no bearing on modern life, but the reality is that the echoes of these superstitions can still be found in our everyday practices, sayings, and even the way we think about luck and fate. Let's delve into this intriguing topic. Many Roman superstitions have survived through time, often morphing into the beliefs and practices we encounter today. Concepts of luck and omens are still deeply ingrained in our culture, manifesting in habits and traditions that may seem trivial at first glance but hold significant meaning. For instance, the phrase "knock on wood," which many people use to ward off bad luck, has its roots in ancient practices. Romans believed that touching or knocking on wood would invoke protective spirits residing in trees. This ritual served as a way to seek favor and avoid the wrath of the gods. A strange fact, many modern cultures around the world have similar practices, highlighting a universal tendency to seek protection against misfortune. Additionally, the Roman practice of using charms and amulets has been transformed into modern-day talismans. From lucky coins to rabbit's feet, the idea of carrying an object for good luck is a direct line back to Roman traditions. People believe that certain items could attract good fortune or repel evil, a belief that still resonates in contemporary society. A controversial aspect of this legacy is the enduring stigma surrounding certain numbers and their associated luck. For example, the number 13 is often considered unlucky in many cultures today, a notion that can be traced back to Roman times. However, in ancient Rome, the number 12 was seen as the epitome of completeness and perfection, and the fear of 13 likely emerged as a reaction against that idea. This shows how superstitions can evolve and become deeply embedded in societal norms over time. Moreover, Romans had numerous rituals aimed at ensuring good luck during significant life events, and many of these have persisted in various forms today. Weddings, for instance, are rife with superstitions, such as the tradition of throwing rice at newlyweds, which symbolizes fertility and prosperity. Similarly, the practice of carrying a bride over the threshold has roots in ancient Roman beliefs, where it was thought to protect the bride from evil spirits lurking at the entrance of her new home. The influence of Roman beliefs also extends to our language. Many idioms and phrases we use today are directly derived from Roman superstitions. Expressions like "to cross one's fingers" originated from the practice of invoking divine protection, illustrating how language can serve as a vessel for ancient beliefs. When you hear someone wishing for luck while crossing their fingers, you're witnessing a piece of Roman culture still alive in our vernacular. Festivals and public celebrations also carry the imprint of Roman customs. Many modern holidays include rituals designed to bring good fortune or ward off evil, echoing the Roman tradition of holding feasts and ceremonies to appease the gods. These celebrations often incorporate elements that may appear whimsical today, but have their roots in ancient practices aimed at ensuring communal prosperity. Interestingly, the fear of omens and signs that plagued Romans has morphed into a fascination with astrology and horoscopes in our modern society. Many individuals today look to the stars to determine their fate, mirroring how Romans would observe celestial phenomena to predict events. This connection reveals a continuity in the human desire to seek guidance and understanding in an unpredictable world. You might be surprised to learn that even fashion can reflect these ancient superstitions. For instance, the color red has long been associated with luck and protection in various cultures, including Rome. Many brides wear something blue for luck on their wedding day, a custom that likely stems from Roman traditions surrounding the color's significance. The enduring association of colors with specific meanings demonstrates how these beliefs have woven themselves into the fabric of societal practices. In examining the legacy of Roman superstitions, we also uncover the darker aspects of belief systems. The fear of curses and bad omens drove individuals to take extreme precautions. People would engage in elaborate rituals to break curses, showing how deeply entrenched the fear of the supernatural was in their daily lives. This fear persists in modern culture, where many still believe in the power of words and intentions to influence their fate. Ultimately, the connections between ancient Roman superstitions and contemporary beliefs highlight a remarkable continuity in human thought and behavior. By understanding how these ancient practices shape our current perspectives on luck, fate, and fortune, we can gain insight into the broader cultural narratives that have persisted through time. By the end of our exploration, you will see that Roman superstitions were not just odd beliefs, they formed an essential part of their identity. As we continue to navigate our modern world, recognizing the threads that link us to our past can deepen our appreciation of how culture and superstition continue to influence our lives today. Whether it's through language, customs, or personal beliefs, the echoes of Roman superstition still resonate, reminding us that while the specifics may change, our desire for luck and protection remains a constant part of the human experience. Strange practices surrounded Roman games. The world of ancient Roman sports is filled with fascinating and sometimes bizarre rituals that reveal much about their beliefs and values. Most people think sports are just about competition and athletic prowess, but the reality is that for the Romans, the world of athletics was intertwined with deep-seated superstitions and practices aimed at ensuring success and favor from the gods. Before every competition, athletes would often engage in a series of rituals designed to secure victory. Picture this: a Roman athlete, adorned with a laurel wreath, standing at the edge of the arena, surrounded by the cheers of the crowd. But before they even set foot on the track, they whisper a quick prayer to the gods. This wasn't just for show. It was a deeply rooted belief that the gods had direct influence over their performance. Strange fact here is that many modern athletes still pray or engage in personal rituals before a big game, showcasing how these ancient practices have persisted through time. The most common rituals included gestures of good luck, such as spitting to ward off evil spirits or touching specific objects believed to bring fortune. Athletes would also carry lucky charms or amulets. Much like today's athletes might wear a piece of jewelry or carry a good luck token. These objects were often blessed by priests or dedicated to particular gods, emphasizing the idea that divine favor could sway the outcome of their efforts. One particularly intriguing aspect was the use of chants and songs performed before games. Teams would gather to recite these incantations, believing that their collective voices would call upon divine assistance. This practice reflected the deep communal ties and collective identity in Roman society. The chants were not merely for motivation, they served as a way to invoke the gods and express their unity and intent. This brings us to a slightly controversial point. While many today might see such practices as superstitious nonsense, for the Romans, these rituals were a vital part of their cultural and athletic identity. Fans also played a significant role in the superstitious atmosphere of Roman sports. The excitement of the crowd could be felt in the air, and the audience was often just as engaged in rituals as the athletes. They would perform their own gestures for good luck, and there were even instances of fans bringing offerings to the gods in hopes of influencing the outcome of a game. This collective energy added to the intense atmosphere of competitions and created a palpable tension as both teams and spectators sought divine favor. As we delve deeper into the specific sports, we discover that the rituals varied depending on the game. In gladiatorial combat, for example, the fighters would often engage in sacrifices before the fight. They believed that offering a prayer and a sacrifice to the gods would ensure their safety and success in the arena. This not only illustrates the seriousness with which they took these competitions, but also highlights the overlap between sports and religion in Roman culture. Interestingly, this practice of making sacrifices for success in battle or competition can be seen in various cultures throughout history, showcasing a universal human desire to seek external validation and support. Rituals also extended beyond the competition itself. Victors would celebrate their triumphs with public displays of gratitude, often dedicating their winnings to the gods. This included hosting lavish banquets and festivals in honor of the deities they believed helped them succeed. These celebrations were not just personal victories, they were community events that reinforced social ties and cultural values. It's worth noting that such celebrations have their modern counterparts in victory parades and championship celebrations that continue to connect athletes with their communities. Another fascinating angle is the belief that failure in sports could bring about divine retribution. If an athlete did not perform well, it was often attributed to having offended the gods. This created a culture of anxiety and pressure to conform to certain rituals and expectations. Athletes could be ostracized for failing to perform their rituals correctly, or for perceived hubris in their personal success. This adds a layer of complexity to the psyche of Roman athletes, revealing how their performances were not just physical, but also deeply psychological. Now, let's explore the legacy of these practices. While the specific rituals of ancient Roman sports may not be prevalent today, the underlying beliefs about luck, divine favor, and community remain strong. Think about modern sports culture. It's not uncommon for teams to have mascots, rituals, and superstitions, like avoiding the number 13 or wearing lucky socks. These echoes of ancient beliefs suggest that while the specifics may change, the human need to find meaning and connection in competition persists. By understanding the rich tapestry of rituals surrounding Roman sports, we gain insight into how deeply intertwined belief systems were with everyday life. These practices reveal not only the values and concerns of the Romans, but also reflect broader human tendencies that continue to shape our cultural practices today. Ultimately, as we look back at these ancient customs, we recognize that while the world has changed, the motivations and desires that drive us, seeking success, community, and a bit of luck, remain strikingly similar similar. As we carry on our own traditions, perhaps we should consider the roots from which they stem, and how they connect us to a past filled with rich cultural narratives and shared human experiences. The rituals may evolve, but the core human experience of striving for success in the face of uncertainty remains timeless. What role did Roman myths play in shaping their superstition? Most people think myths are just stories, but the reality is that for the Romans, these narratives provided a framework for understanding their world, influencing everything from personal behavior to communal beliefs. Imagine the bustling streets of ancient Rome, where tales of gods and heroes filled the air. Every corner, every statue seemed to whisper stories of the divine, echoing the powerful narratives that shaped the culture. The Romans didn't just recount these myths for entertainment, they integrated them into their daily lives, often viewing them as guides for how to navigate their own experiences. One peculiar fact is that many Romans believed their own lives mirrored the epic tales of old, and they sought to emulate the virtues and actions of these mythological figures. As we delve deeper, we uncover how these stories often contained moral lessons or warnings. Take the story of Arachne, for example, talented weaver who dared to challenge the goddess Minerva. Arachne's tale serves as a cautionary reminder against hubris, believing oneself equal to the god. This story not only explains the origins of spiders in Roman lore, but also serves as a moral lesson, warning individuals to respect the divine order. What's fascinating is how these myths often informed superstitions that permeated Roman society. For instance, many Romans believed that the favor of the gods could be earned through specific rituals or offerings. The tale of Hercules, known for his strength and heroic feats, was a source of inspiration for athletes and warriors. They believed that by invoking Hercules' name during competitions, they could gain his strength and favor. Athletes would perform rituals before games, such as pouring wine on the ground as a tribute, hoping to catch the attention of the gods and secure a victorious outcome. These narratives did not exist in a vacuum. They were embedded in the cultural psyche. For example, the goddess Fortuna, who represented luck and fortune, was often invoked during significant decisions. Most Romans believed that her favor could change the course of their lives, leading to rituals aimed at pleasing her. This concept of luck being influenced by divine forces led to a culture rife with superstitions, what we might deem today as a combination of faith and irrationality. A controversial aspect of this belief system is that it sometimes led to fatalism, where individuals felt powerless against fate. Many Romans would make sacrifices to the gods, not out of gratitude but from a fear of divine retribution. They believed that neglecting to honor the gods could lead to misfortune, a perspective that shaped their actions and reactions to life's challenges. This is a stark reminder of how fear can drive behavior, compelling people to seek divine approval in every aspect of their lives. Delving into specific myths, we see that many were tied directly to natural phenomena, acting as explanations for events beyond human control. For instance, the myth of Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, provides insight into the Romans' relationship with the land and harvest. During her festival, rituals were performed to ensure a bountiful harvest, showcasing how mythology intertwined with agricultural practices and survival. Interestingly, the Romans also used these myths to justify their social structures and political systems. The story of Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome, embodies themes of conflict, rivalry, and eventual triumph, mirroring the Romans' own narratives of conquest and expansion. By framing their identity within the context of such myths, Romans reinforced their cultural values and social hierarchies, which in turn impacted their day-to-day interactions and decisions. But how did these myths influence superstitions related to daily life? Romans often looked to specific stories for guidance on personal matters, such as marriage or childbirth. The myth of Venus, the goddess of love, was invoked in wedding ceremonies, emphasizing the desire for divine blessing on a union. Superstitions surrounding weddings often included rituals like the bride wearing a special amulet or performing certain rites to avoid bad luck, believing that failing to do so could invite Venus' wrath. As we consider the legacy of Roman mythology, it's essential to recognize its enduring influence on modern culture. Many idioms and phrases we use today can trace their roots back to these ancient tales. For instance, saying someone is Herculean refers to the strength of Hercules, while calling someone a Pandora brings to mind the myth of Pandora's box, symbolizing the unintended consequences of curiosity. In summary, Roman myths were not just stories. They were powerful narratives that shaped the culture and influenced superstitions in profound ways. By understanding these tales, we can better appreciate the complexities of Roman life and how their beliefs resonate in our contemporary practices. Through rituals for good fortune, honoring the gods, or invoking luck during competitions, the echoes of these ancient narratives continue to shape our world today. As we explore the fascinating intersection of mythology and superstition, we gain insight into how these ancient beliefs not only reflect the concerns of a bygone era, but also connect to our own fears and hopes, revealing the timeless nature of human experience. What if someone could curse you with a simple phrase? In ancient Rome, curses were not just idle threats. They were believed to have real power, shaping the lives of those who believed in their influence. The Romans took such beliefs seriously, viewing curses as potential catalysts for misfortune, injury, or even death. This fear was so pervasive that it became a significant aspect of their daily lives, highlighting the interplay between superstition and societal behavior. Most people think that curses are simply fictional devices found in stories, but the reality is much more complex. Romans engaged with the supernatural world through a variety of rituals aimed at either invoking or warding off curses. A strange fact is that there were even designated individuals, known as curse tablets, who would inscribe curses on lead or wax, invoking the power of the gods to bring harm upon others. These tablets would often be buried or thrown into bodies of water as offerings to the spirits, further entrenching the belief that one could influence fate through spoken or inscribed words. The fear of curses permeated Roman society in ways that shape personal interactions and public conduct. Romans believed that malicious words could have tangible effects, leading to a culture of suspicion and caution. One controversial idea that emerges from this is that many social norms, such as politeness and decorum, were heavily influenced by the fear of offending someone who might retaliate with a curse. Imagine navigating daily life with the constant awareness that your words and actions could provoke a supernatural backlash. This mindset pushed many to be overly cautious, as the social fabric of Roman life was interwoven with an acute sense of vulnerability. Specific curses were often tied to personal grievances, and people believed that these words could inflict damage on their enemies. For example, if someone wronged you, you might visit a temple to appeal to a deity for retribution. This practice underscores how the Romans viewed justice, not just as a legal matter, but as a cosmic balance, with curses serving as a form of personal vendetta that could disrupt that balance. As we dive deeper into this topic, consider the psychological effects of such beliefs. The Romans were not just reacting to physical circumstances, they were also responding to a deep-seated anxiety about their powerlessness against fate. This perception drove people to seek control over their lives through various means, including rituals to break curses. For instance, if someone believed they had been cursed, they might participate in a purification ritual or consult a priestess for guidance, showcasing the lengths to which they would go to restore their fortunes. The methods of breaking curses were diverse and often elaborate. Some involved the recitation of specific incantations, while others required physical actions, such as burning objects associated with the curse or creating offerings to appease the gods. It's intriguing to note that this belief in the power of words transcended mere superstition. It became a fundamental aspect of their culture, informing everything from literature to legal proceedings. Many Romans believed that reciting certain phrases in the presence of an accused person could lift the curse or restore one's honor, thus embedding the concept of curses deeply into their social fabric. A rare insight is that curses were also sometimes utilized for political purposes. In a society where public perception was crucial, leaders or influential figures might be accused of cursing others as a means of discrediting them or consolidating power. This dynamic illustrates how the fear of curses could become a weapon in both personal and political arenas, blurring the lines between social conflict and supernatural belief. The impact of curses was so profound that entire communities could be mobilized around the idea of supernatural retribution. Festivals and rituals aimed at preventing curses or appealing for protection were common, revealing the collective anxiety surrounding this belief. Such gatherings often included prayers, offerings, and communal feasts to secure the favor of the gods, creating a sense of unity in the face of potential malevolence. Despite their historical significance, the study of curses and superstitions raises questions about our own contemporary beliefs. Many modern societies still grapple with the influence of superstitions, though they might manifest in different forms. From sports fans believing in lucky charms to individuals engaging in various rituals for good fortune, the underlying human desire for control remains unchanged. This connection to the past invites reflection on how our own fears and beliefs shape our behaviors today. In conclusion, the mystery of curses in ancient Rome reveals a complex interplay of fear, power, and societal norms. By examining these beliefs, we uncover not only the depths of Roman superstition, but also the enduring nature of human vulnerability in the face of the unknown. As we explore how curses impacted daily life, we gain insight into the broader themes of powerlessness, control, and community that resonate even in our modern world. Understanding these narratives enriches our appreciation for the ancient Romans and highlights the timeless nature of human experience with the supernatural. What if someone could curse you with a simple phrase? The ancient Romans believed wholeheartedly that curses were not just mere words, they were potent forces capable of bringing about real harm. This deep-seated fear of curses shaped many aspects of Roman life and culture, intertwining the supernatural with their daily existence in profound and often alarming ways. Most people think curses belong in the realm of fantasy or folklore, yet the reality in ancient Rome was markedly different. Curses were perceived as tangible threats, with implications that could alter lives and fortunes. A strange yet compelling fact is that the Romans would often inscribe curses on lead tablets, using a combination of language and ritual to invoke harm upon their enemies. These tablets, known as deficiones, were buried or thrown into rivers as offerings to deities, believed to carry the curse directly to the intended target. The impact of curses was so significant that it was not uncommon for individuals to take precautions against them. People engaged in rituals to protect themselves from potential curses, which included various forms of purification and appeasement of the gods. For example, if someone suspected they had been cursed, they might visit a temple to seek guidance from a priestess, highlighting how deeply the fear of curses permeated Roman society. This belief system also prompted a culture of suspicion. Social interactions were often fraught with the anxiety that one's words or actions could provoke a curse. For instance, accusations of cursing could ruin reputations or even lead to violence. The underlying tension created a societal atmosphere where politeness and caution were not merely niceties but essential survival tools. Now, you can imagine a dinner party where guests are not just enjoying their meal but also carefully monitoring their words to avoid offending anyone who might retaliate with supernatural vengeance. Curses were also wielded as weapons in personal conflicts. Romans believed that if someone wronged you, a curse could be a legitimate form of retribution. This practice underscores how deeply intertwined justice and the supernatural were in Roman culture. The use of curses often escalated personal disputes, leading to a cycle of vengeance where one perceived slight could lead to a series of curses exchanged between individuals. As we delve deeper into the Roman perspective on curses, we encounter a variety of rituals aimed at both invoking and breaking them. For example, if someone believed they had been cursed, they might undergo a purification ritual, which often included bathing in sacred water or making offerings to appease the gods. The complexity of these rituals demonstrates not only the seriousness with which Romans took curses, but also their deep need to restore order in their lives. A rare insight into this phenomenon is that the belief in curses transcended personal conflicts. It influenced broader societal dynamics. Political figures were sometimes accused of cursing their opponents, using the fear of supernatural retribution as a means of undermining rivals. This tactic illustrates how fear could be manipulated for power, intertwining the supernatural with political machination. The legacy of this belief system can still be seen today in how societies grapple with the concept of curses and the idea that words have the power to harm. The Romans also developed specific rituals to break curses. These could range from the simple, reciting certain incantations, to the elaborate, involving community participation in public ceremony. The public aspect of these rituals reinforced social cohesion, as communities would come together to support individuals believed to be afflicted by curses. This collective action against perceived supernatural threats shows the importance of social support in the face of fear. Interestingly, many of these beliefs and practices were recorded in literature and public records, providing a fascinating glimpse into the Roman psyche. For example, the poet Catullus famously wrote about curses, giving voice to personal grievances while also highlighting societal fears. His works serve as a reminder that the fear of curses was not merely a private concern, but a shared cultural narrative that informed the fabric of Roman identity. As we explore the legacy of Roman curses, we find that the influence of these beliefs extends beyond ancient history. Many modern societies still wrestle with superstitions, albeit in different forms. From lucky charms to various rituals performed to ensure good fortune, the underlying human desire for control and reassurance remains unchanged. This connection to the past invites reflection on how our own fears and beliefs shape our behaviors today, challenging us to consider what elements of superstition persist in contemporary life. In conclusion, the mystery of curses in ancient Rome reveals a complex interplay of fear, power, and societal norms. By examining these beliefs, we uncover not only the depths of Roman superstition, but also the enduring nature of human vulnerability in the face of the unknown. As we reflect on how curses impacted daily life, we gain insight into broader themes of powerlessness, control, and community that resonate even in our modern world. Understanding these narratives enriches our appreciation for the ancient Romans and highlights the timeless nature of human experience with the supernatural. If you enjoyed this epic journey, please subscribe to our channel for more thrilling historical tales. Don't miss out on new videos. Hit the notification bell to stay updated.